Hey there, it's Friday, July 31st. We've got this latest edition of Bitcoin Brief to end off your week. We have Tone Vays, our resident Bitcoin educator, as well as consultant and trader, and we have Jimmy Song, our Bitcoin programmer, all things tech, and I'm Christine, your host of this latest edition of Bitcoin Brief. We've got a lot of things going on this week. We saw that the economy took a huge dive, according to the Fed. We see Bitcoin doing pretty well. How are things on your end, Tone?
Wow, time is just absolutely flying. Yeah, looking forward to the weekend. Big day tomorrow. We have the anniversary of the user-activated soft fork. I really should have prepared for it like we did for the halving. I think we're going to do like a 3-hour stream tomorrow. Jimmy will join for a little bit. I'm going to try and invite 20 people or something, and we'll see who joins. It'll be so last minute, so random. So join us tomorrow. It'll be either at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to go back to the woods where that infamous picture took place. Those of you that were there for the user-activated soft fork wars of the axe and machete picture. So I want to be in that area if we're going to do that stream.
Awesome. Big event on tomorrow. How are things on your end of the world, Jimmy?
Austin is Austin. It's like a blue dot in the middle of a really red state. But yeah, you still have to wear masks and things like that. Things are starting to open up again a little bit, but we'll see how far that goes. I'm just happy that I get to eat barbecue and stuff. That's the big thing.
Awesome. And things here, I'm in New York right now. Things are developing. Scary things going on with the economy. We don't know what's going on with COVID. It seems like the election is going to take place November 3rd. And with that, I'm going to take a look at some of the latest headlines of Bitcoin. We've got here from CoinDesk, Ethereum 2.0, closer than ever, still plenty of work to do. So, though now evolved in many ways, Gavin Wood wrote in Ethereum's 2015 Yellow Paper, the key functionality of the blockchain and a Turing-complete language and an effectively unlimited inter-transaction storage capability remains unchanged. So 5 years and thousands of bits later, Ethereum is still chugging along as a decentralized platform for self-executing code. And it has evolved in many ways, with the largest yet to come, Ethereum 2.0. Call it Slasher or Casper, Shasper or Serenity, Ethereum 2.0 has had as nearly many names as unrealized goals. For all the hubbub, a physical implementation is knocking on the cryptocurrency gates and is set to debut by most estimates this fall. We've got proof of stake, Ethereum 1.0, going down, playing the field, not switching over to POS has consequences, however. Ethereum 1.x has seen outsized pressure from users demanding to use its block space over the past 4 months. It goes on. What are your thoughts? Jimmy, starting with you.
Yeah, Ethereum continues to break their promises to their users, I guess. I don't think it's decentralized whatsoever. I think it's been very clear from the beginning. This is a centralized Ponzi scheme of a project. And kind of like the Fed, actually. The Fed has to put in bigger and bigger monetary weapons in order to revive the economy. I think I read somewhere that in 1987, when that crash happened, all they had to do was lower interest rates by like half a point from like 5.5 to like 5, and that was enough to recover everything. Nowadays, you have to put in like $6 trillion into the economy in order to revive it. So, you have to do bigger and bigger things in order to revive the economy with the US dollar. Ethereum's kind of similar. They used to have this narrative of, oh, we're going to be proof of stake, smart contracts and stuff like that. And each time they've had to sort of increase the stakes a little bit. Up to the point where they're now saying, well, we're going to make a completely new system called Ethereum 2.0. And that seems to be their strategy, is to make it so incredibly complicated that very few people would understand it. And they're hoping that the lack of decentralization would get lost in a forest of buzzwords.
Interesting analysis. How about you, Tom? What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, just like Jimmy, I've always been anti-Ethereum from day one because the whole concept never made sense to me. Sure, they decided to make their code Turing complete, which Bitcoin did not allow at the time, in order to create all of this nonsense. Like everyone thinks that Ethereum has brought something innovative to the world. The only thing they innovated was replication to create other Ethereums to basically create tokens. That's all it really did. And eventually, all of that will be done on either a centralized ledger or something like Liquid on top of Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, the underlying foundation of Ethereum is not stable. And that's the problem. The underlying foundation of Ethereum is not stable and it's not decentralized. So it's like the worst of both worlds. They think it's decentralized and it's not, and it comes with all of the problems of decentralization. But it's not decentralized. So it's a complete disaster. The chain is growing exponentially, but the reason why Ethereum is kind of functioning right now is because Ethereum has other competitors. See, this is what people don't realize. So if Ethereum had no competitors, it probably wouldn't function today because it would have, because all of these like tokens would be on, all these transactions would be on there. So there are some competitors to Ethereum already, and more are coming because it just can't handle everything. But this transition from proof of work to proof of stake has always been absolutely fascinating. So at least 3 or 4 years ago, God knows when I first heard about this, and I said, how in the world are they going to convert from proof of work to proof of stake? That doesn't work. You can't actually do that, because how do you tell your miners to stop mining? I know Vitalik can just tweet out, can you all stop mining, like he did, can you all stop trading? But it doesn't mean that they're going to do that. So get ready for another Ethereum hard fork. I'm waiting for who's going to be the big charismatic leader to convince all these ICOs not to switch to Ethereum 2.0. In the meantime, is proof of stake a blockchain? And this is the question we were debating in our last law show, because we were reviewing one of like the Cryptocurrency Act, one of the bills that's currently open for comment. And in that bill, it claims that proof of stake is a blockchain. But I disagree. And Jimmy, do you think proof of stake is a blockchain?
It's a good question. I don't think so, but I mean, in the sense that it's got blocks and it's a linked list. Yeah, I mean, that's a blockchain, I guess. But like, is it decentralized? Absolutely not. I mean, it really depends on how you define blockchain. And the thing is, like, in this space, like, people will call like a toaster a blockchain, and it's the word blockchain really has very little meaning, and it depends, I guess, on the bill and how they define it.
Yeah, so we were talking on that show with the lawyers, and we're like, hey, you know what? We should debate this. What is a blockchain? And bring on someone like yourself or someone like Adam Back, and unfortunately bring on a proof of staker like Alec or a Charles Hoskinson, and debate what is a blockchain.
That would be fun.
All right, I'll on the list of shit to get done. But yeah, I've been meaning to start that Understanding Bitcoin podcast, and that would be a good episode. Trying to define these words. What is a decentralized ledger? What is DLT, distributed ledger technology? What is a blockchain? And try to define it. Because right now, you ask 10 people what is a blockchain, you're gonna get 10 different answers.
That's right.
All right. So we're keeping an eye on this clown show, and we'll keep you guys updated.
All right. In our next story, we head over to Russia. Putin signing in a Russian crypto bill into law. So Russian President Vladimir Putin signed the first of 2 bills on digital assets into law today, according to Russian media. The bill, approved by the country's parliament last week, says companies can issue digital securities on a blockchain if they are properly registered with the Bank of Russia as issuers and satisfy certain criteria. Decentralized cryptocurrencies are considered a type of property which should be reported for tax purposes and cannot be used to pay for goods and services. A more detailed law regulating crypto-related businesses is expected to be passed later this year, although no timeline has yet been disclosed. The previous version of that bill, which has been introduced to Russian parliament, would make it illegal to issue and trade crypto on Russia-based infrastructure. The draft generally reflected the skeptical stance of the country's central bank. It also provoked an outcry from the crypto community and criticism from both Russia's Ministry of Justice and Ministry of Economic Development. So Tone, you're our Russian expert here. Tell us, why is Putin clamping down on crypto here?
Yeah, so it's always a little bit interesting what's going on over in Russia. Now, of course, this is, people will still use Bitcoin. This is the beauty of Bitcoin, that no matter how many laws go in, you can't stop people from transacting in Bitcoin. But it was really interesting to read it in this CoinDesk that says, make it illegal to issue and trade crypto on Russia-based infrastructure. So I'm not really sure what that exactly means, but I don't think it's, we're always talking about how is Bitcoin legal in Russia, is Bitcoin illegal in Russia. So if Russia decides to make Bitcoin illegal, they're basically just setting back their country. Then a lot of the, here's what happens when your country makes Bitcoin illegal. If you have people in your country, there are citizens of your country that are very Bitcoin and crypto rich, and you make what their value illegal, what they will do is they will leave your country. You don't even know they have the crypto. They will leave your country, they will go to another country, and they will build their companies there, or they will spend their money there. And this is how, no matter how many natural resources Russia has, it has never been like, one of the top 2 or 3 most trusted economies. It's not at the very top of, even Japan was number 2, the second country by, what was it? Not GDP, but just productivity in general. So this is the problem. And this is what leaders of countries need to understand, that what keeps America as a superpower is like the freedom to build your own company. It's it's somewhat functioning rule of law, where you kind of know where you stand, and you have capitalism that will allow you to succeed. And companies that clamp down on people's success and people's wealth don't go very far globally. And this is the big problem.
Vladimir Putin has shown a very nuanced and a very knowledgeable grasp of cryptocurrencies, of Bitcoin. Why do you think he's making this move? And it seems that what they want to happen is they want to have digital securities properly registered with the central bank there. What are your thoughts, Jimmy?
Yeah, it's interesting because they do want to be able to track the digital securities and stuff. There was an article on CoinDesk not too long ago referring to how some of the human rights stuff in Russia, and something that one of the human rights activists said was, because the Russian government knows that Bitcoin exists, they're not automatically just sort of shutting down the bank accounts of these dissidents, of people that are sort of a thorn on the side for the government. And I think something similar is playing out here, right? Like if they know that Bitcoin is an option, and they don't, and if you have Bitcoin, that it's going to be very hard to track as long as you take some precautions and so on. So they'd rather like let them into their financial system and keep track of them, rather than have them use Bitcoin for everything, like, and do stuff that they don't like. So in a sense, this bill sounds like it's a way to keep control of over the populace in a certain way by having people register their Bitcoin essentially with Bank of Russia and so on. They could, like keep better tabs on people that they would otherwise have no access or control to. At least if it's with the Bank of Russia or something like that, they can still freeze the assets and so on. It seems like a way for them to, try to trap those people in a way. I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily going to work, but this is one of those things that they're trying.
Do you see a day, Tone, when Russia could potentially launch its own digital currency?
Sure. That's coming. I mean, every country will. Russia wants to get rid of paper money, just like every other country wants to get rid of paper money, especially when your country has a major devaluations like Russia did in the last decade. They had a couple of them. So it makes your life a lot easier to just devalue digital money, instead of dealing with people's anger and paper money. So, of course, Russia will come out with a digital-only ruble. And the more country, and the sooner Russia does that, the more of their citizens are going to, pump the price of Bitcoin. So please get it done sooner than later.
Okay. Let's take a look at our next story, and it's one that a lot of people have been talking about. 27 arrests as Chinese police completely destroy PlusToken Bitcoin scam. We move from Russia to China. One of the most notorious and largest scale Bitcoin scams of all time appears to have finally been taken down, with Chinese police swooping to arrest 27 suspects it said orchestrated PlusToken. Per state-owned media news outlet China News, the Ministry of Public Security, China's police authority, has announced the arrests, noting that it has now completely destroyed a huge multinational network, multi-level marketing organization that had been entrenched both in China and abroad. The ministry said that it began its investigations into PlusToken last year when it discovered the scale of the firm's alleged wrongdoings. PlusToken is based in Yancheng, Jiangsu, and the ministry said it estimates that 2 million people made investments into the scheme, which comprises a 3,000 level pyramid. The total value of the crypto assets involved in the scam, it said, exceed over 5.7 billion US dollars. The ministry set up a task force as part of a 12-month campaign to take down the operators. Its agents had to travel as far afield as Vanuatu, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Malaysia in a bid to track down the masterminds who were allegedly working in locations all over the globe. As previously reported in March, researchers estimated that the fund had some over 61,000 Bitcoin, which is about 670 million US dollars worth of undistributed funds in its wallets at the time. Traders speculated that the scam has been responsible for Bitcoin price volatility and may have been to blame for the price crash in March this year. So a big takedown by the Chinese government. The first, Jimmy, I mean, what is your reaction to this very comprehensive and far-reaching global investigation?
Yeah, so Paycoin's been something that a lot of people have been talking about for quite a while. I mean, PlusToken, sorry, not Paycoin, PlusToken. And, it's been speculated that they have, on the order of like 100,000 Bitcoin or something like that, which would be an insane amount. But a lot of the downward pressure in price has been speculated to be doing something like that. But these Ponzi schemes, these pyramid schemes, they're completely illegal. And these guys were a little more, I guess, upfront about, or, like more scammy than maybe some of these ICOs and things. But the big thing to remember is that at a gut level, it's not that different. right? Like these are people trying to scam people out of their money by promising them riches and, sort of relying on people's greed. That's essentially what ICOs do. And it's from a moral perspective, I don't see the two as being that different. And I'm still kind of waiting for the day when, a lot of these tokens like end up in the same place. It's just kind of sad that not a lot of, not that much has gone in that direction.
Well, it's interesting to me that they were able to take down all this kind of multinational group. Tone, your take on it.
Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. If you just scroll up a little bit, you see that they literally arrested people across like 5 Asian countries. And that's pretty impressive. Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, that's pretty impressive. I don't know if they got them all, but yeah. And I didn't really know much about PlusToken because it was taking place in Asia. And these things going on there all the time. And it's really unfortunate. And these guys got their hands on a lot of Bitcoin. We're talking 60,000 Bitcoin. But here's the best part. Having 60,000 Bitcoin, did absolutely nothing to affect the Bitcoin network. Now, if Bitcoin was proof of stake, like Ethereum is about to be, having the equivalent of 60,000 Ethereum in a proof of stake system is probably problematic. What do you think, Jimmy?
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, like Ethereum can fork whenever they want. So if somebody causes trouble, they'll just, hard fork and make things whatever they want it to be.
Right. So this also goes to show you, and our next story is gonna, solidify that, how there are scammers, but you got to separate Bitcoin from the scam itself. So anyone that is trying to separate you from your Bitcoin is probably a scammer. And this is why I was always against all of the ICO tokens, because all they wanted was your Bitcoin in a way so that they don't owe you anything for it and they can just run away with it. Now, some of those projects launched, most of those projects did not. And here we are. So guys, hold on to your Bitcoin at all costs. Don't give up those keys.
Hey, Tone, I'm curious, do you think that PlusToken was responsible for the price volatility in Bitcoin we saw in March?
Not in March necessarily, but I think the PlusToken was responsible for most of the Bitcoin's price volatility in 2019 when we pumped to 14,000. That was just like, I was dumbfounded. Like I could not believe that Bitcoin was going up that high. I was a pretty big bear throughout most of 2019. I was bullish early on in 2019 when we were rallying from 3,000. But once that rally made it past, $7,000, I became very skeptical and I couldn't explain what the hell's going on. It went all the way to 14. In hindsight, that was the PlusToken at the height of their Ponzi scheme. And then the drop, the slow bleed from 14,000 down to that $6,000-7,000 range was also all PlusToken. And then COVID put it over the top with the big panic. I don't think that was PlusToken. It had a little bit to do with it. I think that's when they, had to get rid of their last batch or something. But yeah, so I think the PlusToken was mostly 2019 insanity. In 2020, I don't think it had that much to do with it.
And what does it say to those scammers out there who, I mean, I'm sure these guys just thought they'd never be caught or found out or taken down like this. Like they had this multinational operation, they had so much money. They probably didn't see, do you think they even saw this coming?
That's a tough one. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing that the Chinese were able to arrest 27 people across 5 different countries in like a weekend. So that shows you the tracking capabilities of the government. Now, it's good when you're able to catch, murderers and, serious criminals. But for financial crimes with no physical harm done, it's look, I'm happy that they got arrested and they're going away. However, man, the kind of surveillance that needed to be done to get this achieved also kind of scares me. I don't know. I wonder what Jimmy's thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows if they arrested even the right people or whatever. This is
you're
why
right.
we have court of law and stuff.
Who knows if it was 27 or 7? Like you really gotta, like, you don't really know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and these are just press releases. They're for public consumption and to get you to feel a certain way about whatever it is that they did. I'm guessing though that they probably use some tracking technology that the CCP definitely has. Be interesting to find out if they used anything on the blockchain to figure out where people were or who they were, or if they used like subpoenaed records or from exchanges and whatnot.
And what do you think they're going to do with all the money?
Well, we don't know if they seized it, right? So if they did, then they belong to the Chinese government, I would guess. But who knows if they did?
I see one tweet here. They should return it back to the investor. But
yeah, well, this was one of the things that we were talking about on the Law Show. Jason Seibert is really fighting, the case. The Supreme Court ruled that the SEC can't just confiscate people's money. And when the SEC got put to the fire, got put their feet to the fire, saying, "Hey, you confiscate all this money and you say it's on behalf of the investor, but you never actually give it back to the investor. What the hell is going on?" And it's like, yeah, we use it to take down more criminals and we use it to pay whistleblowers, but they don't really use it to pay back the investor.
Huh. Wow. Well, it's a big windfall for the government then. All right, which goes into our next story. Payment sent. Travel giant CWT pays $4.5 million ransom to cyber criminals. So U.S. travel management firm CWT paid $4.5 million this week to hackers who stole reams of sensitive corporate files and said they had knocked 30,000 computers offline, according to a record of the ransom negotiations seen by Reuters. The attackers used a strain of ransomware called Ragnar Locker, which encrypts computer files and renders them unusable until the victim pays for access to be restored. The ensuing negotiations between the hackers and a CWT representative remain publicly accessible in an online chat group, providing a rare insight into the fraught relationship between cyber criminals and their corporate victims. CWT, which posted revenues about $1.5 billion last year, says it represents more than a third of companies on the S&P 500 US stock index, confirmed the attack, but declined to comment on the details of what it said was an ongoing investigation. Down more, CWT said it had immediately informed US law enforcement and European data protection authorities. A person familiar with the investigation said the company believed the number of infected computers was considerably less than the 30,000 the hackers told CWT they had infected. So on this question, I'll go to you, Tone. I mean, so the company's paying these hackers. Does that send a good precedent?
It doesn't set a good precedent. I mean, it sets a precedent that Bitcoin is still the ideal form of payment in these situations. It also shows that all these companies, they need better IT people. They need better security. They need to put pressure on operating systems like Windows to get their shit together after 30 years and add some security in there. So that's the biggest takeaway, is that as long as this keeps happening, it means our digital systems are insecure. And I'm hoping that this leads to very secure systems, where the secure system, where the company, whether it's this company or any other company, basically says to the government, yeah, you ain't getting the back door, because we don't want to pay the next $5 million to make our system less secure for you. So I'm hoping that more companies get serious, about their digital security. Because if it's not this, it's getting hacked, right? I think news just broke that the Twitter hacker got arrested. Again, all these companies do have better security, and Bitcoin shows the incompetence of that security, which needs to be better.
Jimmy, yeah. I mean, what does it say about digital security, cybersecurity in companies?
Well, here's the economic reality. $10 million is way too cheap. What the ransom guys should have demanded is on the order of like $100 million. Then it would actually do something. The reason why a lot of these companies don't upgrade their security and have a much better IT infrastructure system is because that stuff is really expensive. You have to understand, like when you're upgrading your IT system, it's like a $200 million project. And oftentimes what happens with those projects is that they fail and they don't fit whatever the company's doing, and they end up going back to the old one anyway. It's actually one of the biggest reasons for CEOs getting fired is when they try an IT infrastructure upgrade and they find that it didn't work, that's pretty much cause for them to get fired. So in this particular instance, they were able to get away with $10 million, but that's honestly kind of a drop in the bucket compared to the billions that these guys are making in revenue. And they're not going to, if they suffer one of these a year, that's still not going to be enough to pay for all of the things that they would need to do in order to upgrade their security to the level where these hackers wouldn't be able to get in. So the economics, I don't think, really works in the favor of the IT professionals and all of the things that you would need to do in order to upgrade the security to this extent. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the sad reality, unfortunately.
Well, do you think that these hackers will ever be found out? You know, is this a lucrative business?
That's a law enforcement question, and that's hard to know. It depends how sloppy they were and how much tracking the governments can do and things like that. Who knows? But I mean, $10 million is honestly kind of chump change, and I don't know if it'll end up, you know, going to. I don't know if any particular government will be motivated enough to do something about it to the degree that they would need to in order to find them.
Oh,
well,
hey, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Christine. This is off topic. Go ahead. Go for it. You have another question.
No, I was going to move on to another story. But
okay, so in that case, so we're hearing someone commented in the live chat. I don't know if it's true or not, because it's an anonymous handle as always. Charles Hoskinson has said he's going to sue you and I, Jimmy, for defamation, which would be hilarious if it actually happened.
Defamation? Really? Okay. Interesting.
Well,
he does have a lot more money on us to spend on lawyers, but this would be actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
I say that about being found out because we do have this news that the Florida teenager 17 is charged with masterminding massive Twitter hack where scammers gained access to high-profile user accounts, including Barack Obama, Kim Kardashian, Kanye, and Elon Musk. And he didn't get $10 million. It was just like a couple, I don't know, 100,000 or so. Graham Ivan Clark, 17, was arrested on Friday morning in Tampa, Florida. Prosecutors say he masterminded largest social media breach in history. Twitter accounts of dozens of famous personalities were hijacked. Let's see. He faces 30 felony charges that will be prosecuted in state court. This is not a particularly flattering picture of Grant. He looks really evil there. The Hillsborough State Attorney's Office called Clark the mastermind of the July 15th breach, which saw famous Twitter accounts hijacked. Authorities say that the hacker behind the attack netted more than 100,000 in Bitcoin through the illegal scheme. This BitCon was designed to steal money from regular Americans all over the country, including right here in Florida. We see one of the tweets that was handed out here on Barack Obama's account. I'm giving back to my community due to COVID. All Bitcoin sent to my address below will be sent back doubled. An advance fee scan. If you send 1,000, I will send back 2000. There's the Bitcoin address. Only doing this for 30 minutes. Enjoy. Although the investigation was led by the FBI and involves federal crimes, Clark will be prosecuted locally because Florida law allows minors to be charged as adults in financial fraud cases when appropriate. The defendant lives here in Tampa, he committed the crime here, and he'll be prosecuted here. Hillsborough County jail records show the team was booked into jail shortly after 6:30 a.m. today, Friday. His home address is in a quiet suburb on the edge of the Northdale Golf and Tennis Club in Northwest Tampa within the school district of Gator High School. Okay. You know, tone off the bat. I mean, he's young. He's smart to accomplish this.
He's clearly young. That scam should have been worth at least $30-40 million. And all he did was make $100K. Wow, that was a bad investment of his time and efforts.
Hey, he's 17, man. $100,000 as a 17-year-old's a pretty good, pay then. Not so good though. The way I see this is, I'm a little skeptical that this really is the mastermind.
I'm very skeptical as well.
Yeah, but if it is, then he's 17. He kind of made a mistake, and there's a lot of social engineering involved in order to get access. But it says more about Twitter security than him necessarily. He just happened to be the lucky guy that managed to break through.
Yeah, and he just graduated high school. He's being charged as an adult. I mean, to even have the know-how of being able to do this, I mean, I feel like his skills were misused and could be, I don't know, rehabilitated and used for better, more productive use. Without further ado, let's talk about another story in the headlines. Mastercard and Visa are making bold moves toward mass crypto adoption. Global payment processors Mastercard and Visa are laying the foundations for crypto support that may drive adoption on a global scale. Leading global payments companies Mastercard and Visa have been making moves to accelerate the support of cryptocurrency payment processors by opening up new options for users around the world. Both companies made strong statements in support of the use of cryptocurrencies in July by announcing respective projects and collaborations that are driving the adoption of cryptocurrencies. The positive attitude toward cryptocurrency exchanges and payment platforms from the world's largest traditional payments processors signals a shift in perception from the traditional finance space. Mastercard has been actively encouraging exchanges and payment service providers to enlist in its recently expanded cryptocurrency card program, becoming partners in just a few weeks as part of its Accelerate program. Meanwhile, Visa outlined its vision of the cryptocurrency space with an overarching theme of positivity toward the market and the role it will play. So the likes of Coinbase and Binance crypto exchanges use either Visa or Mastercard to power their crypto debt cards. We also have, the company also has already established a working relationship with some leading cryptocurrency-based firms in 2020, including Coinbase and Fold. So Jimmy, what are your thoughts on this new development from these card processors?
I'm not sure if it's that new a development. I've known that Visa, for example, has been pretty bullish on Bitcoin for quite a while now, at least 3 years. I spoke there a few years ago to a bunch of their employees, and they seem to know a good deal about what Bitcoin is and so on. The big thing to note about Visa and the strength of their brand is that they have a lot of merchants that have already adopted their stuff. And I think this is really the path to which Bitcoin gets adopted by people, whether they know it or not, is that once Bitcoin becomes much more prominent, and especially, and this will probably happen in third world countries first, Visa totally has the ability to settle all of their transactions in Bitcoin. They already do for lots and lots of other currencies. And they have the network. So at that point, if a country, say like Zimbabwe or something, stops using the dollar and starts using Bitcoin or something like that, well, then all of the Visa merchants that take Visa would be able to settle in Bitcoin. And that would be very interesting. And it's, I think, a more realistic path to, payments, because these are kind of entrenched companies that already have the network, rather than sort of like the, Roger Ver method of harassing every vendor until they start taking Bitcoin Cash or whatever. I think this is the direction that it'll go in for certain, kinds of transactions.
Oh, sorry, you muted, Christine.
Okay, and Tone, we see these payments processors, they don't want to be lost in antiquity, and they're trying to work with cryptocurrencies. What is your take on this move by Visa?
I think credit card companies are in decent position to really understand Bitcoin and what it does. It will, of course, cut into their profit, but there's still so much to capitalize on before an inevitable future of Bitcoin taking over what credit card companies do, allow you frictionless payments, basically. So for the time being, I'm surprised that these credit card companies haven't gotten more in between these transactions, where they would take a cut on on integrating Bitcoin payment systems. But they are getting involved. There's a lot of Bitcoin debit cards with Visa logo, Mastercard logo. As you guys know, the only one that I promote-ish is Embly Card. And the reason why I do that is because they don't have a scammy ICO token. But they also have a Visa card that you prepay with Bitcoin and spend it anywhere. So they're still pretty useful. They have this amazing network around the world. But it's great that they're being open-minded on allowing companies to have the Visa debit cards that you can just prepay with Bitcoin. It doesn't cost them anything, and they still get the profit from that from the merchant themselves when it gets swiped. I wish Visa and Mastercard were a little, more selective and not provide any of their services to companies that may have potentially broken security laws, because these are U.S. companies. But hey, it is what it is. I'm happy that I have one of those Visa debit cards. So. Yeah,
and over onto our joining story, U.S. printed more money in 1 month than in 2 centuries. The Federal Reserve's money printer has cranked up to ridiculous levels, but will it lead to inflation? In a letter to investors released on July 29th, Pantera Capital CEO Dan Moorhead noted that the U.S. has printed a shocking amount of money to combat the pandemic-induced financial crisis. The United States printed more money in June than in the first 2 centuries after its founding, Moorhead wrote. Last month, the U.S. budget deficit, $864 billion, was larger than the total debt incurred from 1776 through the end of 1979. Moorhead made it clear that Pantera Capital sees Bitcoin as the solution for the current crisis. He also contrasted the effects of money printing in recent months to how the equivalent amount of currency had performed across centuries. With that first trillion USD printed, we defeated British imperialists, bought Alaska and the Louisiana Purchase, defeated fascism, ended the Great Depression, built the interstate highway system. Moorhead cited the resulting inflation as the main reason one should get out of paper money and into Bitcoin. According to the CEO, there is no need for inflation-adjusted numbers with Bitcoin because there is no inflation hyperinflation. I also saw one of the notes. Never mind. One of the strategies for writing out the pandemic: stay long crypto until schools, daycare open. Until then, the economy won't function and money will be continuously printed. Tone, a lot of concern out there that the Federal Reserve is just printing tons of money and filling, these corporate bond buying programs, a lot of money out there to save this economy. Or what are your thoughts on this impact that this will have?
I mean, in the long run, this is great for Bitcoin. I can't wait till the next crisis where they're printing in trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. to try and bail out the system. So that's, of course, a good long-term thing for assets. You're seeing gold hitting new all-time highs. The stock market is not at new all-time highs yet, but this is where that money is going. It is going into asset inflation. It's not necessarily going into inflation on the ground. Like, I haven't seen much inflation in food since this whole mess started. Electronics are still about the same. Like, there's lots of disruptions in the supply chain because of COVID. So that is leading to some issues with things being higher in price. But we are seeing asset inflation everywhere because this money is entering the system and it needs to go somewhere. So people are buying up speculative assets. And again, a lot of that money is going to find its way into Bitcoin. But so much destruction has taken place in people's financial lives. Like, for now, the government is like paying them not to work. I don't know how long that's going to end, how long that's going to last. I haven't taken any money from the government, though I probably qualify. But eventually that's going to end and people are not going to be better off. People lost their jobs that aren't coming back. So it's just this weird inflation situation where you're seeing it in assets, but not necessarily yet in your day-to-day living.
And Jimmy, your thoughts on the central bank printing this enormous, unprecedented amount of money and injecting into the economy?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before. When you're printing that much money, what ends up happening is people want to store that value rather than spend it. They're printing that money and trying to give people the money so that they would spend it. They're trying to up the velocity of money, what economists call pushing on a string. But people are not going to want to do that in a time of uncertainty. Instead, they put it into anything that will store value. And this is why the stock market and gold and all of this stuff continues to go up, because all of that money is finding its way to stores of value. And Bitcoin, as we know, is a great store of value. So for that reason, I think, Bitcoin will, continue to go to have demand. And this is why we're really excited about the bull market that's happening. As far as like U.S. printed more money in 1 month than in 2 centuries. Yeah, that's true, but it's always like inflating. So in that sense, it's not, you can't compare those two because they're apples and oranges. During hyperinflation, that sort of thing happens as well, where it's like, a couple of years later, what would have bought a whole shoe factory only buys like a whole, a pair of shoes, something like that. That happens because the numbers just get kind of crazy, and you're seeing that over a longer period of time, certainly. But that's kind of what's happening, is that there is inflation, and it's it's a lot higher than the number that the government tells us, which is the CPI. It's a lot. Monetary expansion is what this article is pointing at, and that's a lot faster. It's on the order of 7% a year.
I just want to point out to something in this article that says, despite widespread fears over inflation, many experts predict consumer prices will actually go into a period of deflation. And that's what exactly happened in Australia this week, where ABC News reported that consumer prices in the country actually dropped almost 2% in June. It's a record for deflation since the Korean War. What's going on there, Tone?
Well, this is exactly what's happening. It's like Jimmy explained. No one wants to spend money. So if you have a business and you want to sell something, and that something isn't absolutely vital, no one's going to want to buy it. They would rather hold on to the cash. They would rather, clearly putting in some gold. They'd rather put it anywhere except consumption. And you're not going to create more consumption by giving people more money in times of uncertainty. That's not how it works. You'll create more consumption in lottery tickets. You'll create more consumption in the casinos because people will, try to get lucky with that money. But it's not going to increase in consumption. So government doesn't understand that. it appears. And you just got to let it be. There's nothing necessarily wrong with deflation. Things are getting cheaper for you to buy. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The government sees deflation as a bad thing. I would love to buy my shit cheaper. I always like that. That's why I hold on to Bitcoin, so I can buy the same stuff cheaper in terms of Bitcoin. So it's a rough thing because they think that if you know something is going to go down in price, you're not going to buy it. No, you're still going to buy it when you actually need it. And I don't know how many generations it'll take to get back to normal functional thinking when it comes to how you should best spend your money.
All right.
The inflated price, I think in Australia and in America and Europe, maybe there might be a little bit of deflation, but you go to Argentina or Turkey or third world countries, prices are going up, and that's normal. In that, like, a lot of the money flows towards these first world countries, and it's the third world countries that are sort of taking the hit for the rest of the world. It's unfortunately how things work.
Jimmy's got some kids in the background.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. But Jimmy, can we take a look at the mempool? Let's take a look at what's going on with the transactions.
Okay, so it looks like fees are kind of high right now. If you go to the graphs, we'll see just how high they are. Put it in 1 week mode, please. Okay, and scroll down. All right, as you can see, a lot of transactions have come onto the network this week, and not in small part because of the price action that's happening. And it's been pretty consistently in the 100 plus Satoshi per byte range over this week. Goes down a little bit during the evenings or overnight, where we'll clear all the way up to like 10 Satoshis per byte sometimes, but usually in the range of 20 to 30. I expect things to get better over the weekend. We are on a Friday, and generally, things tend to clear a lot faster over the weekend because there aren't as many people trading and so on. That said, if you need to get something in right now, you're going to have to spend a lot, 175 to 200 Satoshis per byte. If you need it in the next hour or two, it's going to be in the 70 to 80 range. If you need it in the next day, you could probably do 10 or maybe even less than that. If you can wait over the weekend, I'm going to guess that like 3-4 Satoshi per byte will still clear. But yeah, I mean, if the price action continues, all bets are off, and that's where Tone comes in, and he can tell us more about that.
Yeah. All right, but we do want everyone to take a look at Programming Bitcoin by Jimmy Song. Learn how to program a Bitcoin library with this hands-on guide from one of the leading teachers on Bitcoin and Bitcoin programming. Author Jimmy Song shows you the basics, including the math, blocks, network, and transactions behind this popular cryptocurrency and its blockchain payment system. You'll also learn how simplified payment verification and how proof of work works. Learn how to program Bitcoin from scratch by Jimmy Song.
That's right.
All right.
Tone.
All right, guys, let's take a look at the price. I didn't do a video this morning on price at all, so this is it. This is our look at the price charts. I had to restart my computer, so it's good because now I get to keep an eye on all of the oscillators. And here we are. This is the weekly look at Bitcoin, and what I'm watching really carefully is whether we're going to close above this purple line of 11,500 on the week. And if we do, that would be, and the month closes today.
In 4 hours, in less than 4 hours.
Yeah. So the monthly close will, if we close a little bit higher than this, it will be.
I think this will be the second highest no matter what.
It will be the second highest no matter what. Let's take a look. I thought it had to be a little bit higher to be the second highest no matter what, but that is incredibly bullish. From a monthly perspective, the second highest ever monthly close is absolutely incredible. So I am looking forward to having that. We're 4 hours away from that. Remember,
your screen sharing is still like loading, just so you know.
Yeah. Oh, like overall,
It's still
like,
black.
It's still black. It says tone is screen sharing, but I don't know if you need to enable something or select a screen or something like that.
Yeah, hold on. What's going on?
I think you need to shake your fist at your computer, man.
Wait. Oh wow. All right, hold on, let's try this again. This better?
Nope.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Technical difficulties.
Let me try something else.
And then, so machine learning, I haven't used the classical.
Yeah, I'm looking at the monthly. Yeah. So if we close above 10,800, that would mean the second highest monthly close.
Yeah, that looks like it's definitely gonna happen. We are looking at our second highest monthly close.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what the hell is going on.
Weekly, though, I think it's there's been at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, it's like the 7th month on the weekly scale. So I'm sorry, guys. So it looks like there'll be an audio version of this. The weekly scale, the RSI is almost at overbought, but it still looks pretty good. The MACD is very bullish. The CMF is becoming bullish now. So everything looks bullish, and the week's gonna close in a couple of days. And the higher up the candle we close on a weekly, the more bullish I am. So I am fully bullish on this. I don't know why the screen share isn't working. It's got to be some kind of a Zoom thing. And I'm looking at the daily chart. The daily chart is breaking out to the upside, especially the 4-hour chart is really breaking out to the upside. In our last video, I said that if the price of Bitcoin goes above 11,150, I become bullish and ready to enter more bullish trades. And we broke that last night, and we're currently sitting at 11,360. So that's very, very good. The 4-hour chart is going to come up on an MRI exhaustion sell in about 4 to 6 hours from now. So there could be a little bit of a break. But let's see, the higher we close 4 hours from now, the better it all is. Yeah, it looks like I can't do screen share, which is strange. But that was it. Gold broke out to new all-time highs today as well, which is very interesting. I thought that gold would have a little bit more back, considering how fast and how far gold went up. But gold breaking out to the upside today makes me more bullish on gold as well. I do like this breakout today in gold.
Awesome.
And finally, I guess I'll glance at the S&P 500.
More like the opposite. And I'm using something which is not.
Yeah, we've been having a bit of a roller coaster in the markets at large today.
I can't look at my charts. It's taking forever to load those as well. And I did restart my box. I'm one of these days I'll buy a new laptop. My $2,300 laptop clearly was not powerful enough.
Problem is, you want absolutely everything.
Yeah. Wow, S&P 500 really rallied today. That's also impressive. It rallied hard yesterday after dropping early, and it's rallied hard again today after dropping early. So I remained somewhat bullish on the S&P 500 here because there's no reason not to be. All this printed money keeps going in. I kept waiting for a pullback. I remain a bull of the S&P 500. All right, that's it, guys. Sorry, couldn't do a screen share, but we'll bring you a video tomorrow around 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern for the user activated soft fork anniversary. Jimmy Song will join us for as long as he can. Maybe Christine will come in and say hi. Leah won't be joining us because it'll be middle of the night, but maybe I'll try to convince her. And we'll see who else joins. I'm going to send out some invites today, and we'll see who can join.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's your edition of Friday's July 31st Bitcoin Brief. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. And this song is done.
Bye, guys.